Hello everyone, we are Group 4 and today we will be introducing Internet of Things. We are going to do a brief introduction on the concept and the technologies behind, look at the market, and lastly, an overview of the stakeholders of this technology as well as its vendors.
Starting with the overview, as said by Kevin Ashton, what the Internet of Things is really about is information technology that can gather its own information. Often what it does with that information is not tell a human being something, it just does something. Simply put, a lot of a system of interrelated computing devices, mechanical and digital machines, objects, people, or even animals that are provided with unique identifiers and the ability to transfer data over a network without the requirement of human to human or human to computer interaction. Internet of Things has many benefits. It can help people live and work better or smarter. It has many applications such as home automation, obtaining real-time business insights, etc. As we will see later, in addition to helping make our lives easier, Internet of Things is essential to businesses. Now, let's take a look at the machinery behind the Internet of Things platform that make it work. To put it simply, we can look at the technology behind Internet of Things as a technology stack which can be divided into 4 layers. Firstly, device hardware, which refers to the objects that act as an interface between the real and the digital world. Then, device software. On the other hand, this is what connects the devices and makes them smart. Next, communication solutions make it possible for providing a means for smart objects to exchange information with the rest of the network. This determines the way in which data is sent to and received from the cloud. Lastly, an Internet of Things platform is where all the data is gathered, managed, processed, analyzed, and presented to the end user in a manner which is user-friendly. Next, depending on the specifications of a given Internet of Things application, a different communication alternative can be used. These have varying levels of service enablement, power consumption, range, and bandwidth. But all of them have trade-offs. We can classify them in the following ways. Firstly, we have short-range solutions such as Bluetooth, which is a key solution for wearable electronics. Or we can use radio frequency identifiers, which offers positioning solutions for Internet of Things applications, especially in supply chain management and logistics. Then there is medium-range Internet of Things solutions, which include Wi-Fi, Zigbee, and Thread, which is designed specifically for smart home products such as Amazon's Alexa or Google Home. Lastly, we have longer-range solutions with options such as LoRaWAN, which for example supports longer battery life cycles and offers enhanced in-build range compared to cellular technologies, and Sigfox, which employs a technology that enables it to handle low data transfer at high speeds while consuming up to 100 times less energy compared to cellular communications, and many others. Now let's go more into detail on how this whole process actually works. First, we have sensors or devices which collect data from the environment around them. There are multiple examples of these sensors. A phone, for example, is a device which bundles many of them: camera, GPS, accelerometer, etc. Next, this data collected is sent to the cloud. Here we focus on how the data is transferred. These sensors can be connected with cloud through many ways, as explained before: cellular, satellite, Wi-Fi, Bluetooth, direct internet connection, etc. This is important as technologies chosen determine how devices send to or receive information from the cloud, so it must be chosen appropriately according to the specific application. Afterwards, the data collected in the cloud is processed with the help of software. While it could be very simple, such as checking weather or the temperature of the fridge, it could also need help of artificial intelligence to help with more complex problems such as facial recognition or, for example, home security. Lastly, once all of the data is processed, it is made available to the end user for whichever solution needed. This has been made very accessible to the regular person in the past years by being able to check on information such as heart rates, their step count through app on their phones. However, it is important to remember that the end user may also make decisions that would affect the system depending on certain settings. Internet of Things systems may be authorized to act independently depending on the information received. Examples. Internet of Things is already a reality in many sectors. It can be seen in process automation where information is exchanged and centralized thanks to sensors in process plants. In smart homes, Amazon Echo, for example, enables the user to control aspects of the house with just a voice. On the same tone, Hilton is planning to replace card keys with smartphone apps, which can then control temperature and lights. Lastly, smart cars, where companies such as Tesla use sensors, internet, and other resources to track live traffic, road, pedestrian conditions, etc. These are just a few of the potential applications of this technology. Now, the degree of maturity, both of the product and of the market. Firstly, the market overview. The market is currently booming with huge opportunities for future growth. This is materialized in particular by the very promising forecasts for this sector. Worldwide technology spending on Internet of Things is expected to reach 1.2 trillion in 2022, attaining a return of 13.6%. Of course, this is before coronavirus. Its potential economic impact could generate up to 11 trillion a year by 2025. So clearly there's a lot of potential for this market. Now let's look at the market maturity. According to DBS, Asian Insights Asia, is set, they believe the development of Internet of Things is set to continue in the forthcoming decade. It is therefore a good barometer to evaluate the global market maturity. Internet of Things is on the verge of mainstream. This graph, for example, shows, among other technologies, that Internet of Things devices and services are actually reaching an inflection point of 18 to 20% adoption, also called early majority stage. When will we see most of this? Well, we will probably see this accelerating in the future with mass adaptation following. Then the product maturity. The Internet of Things ecosystem is very complex with multiple layers and hundreds of players, including device, vendors, communication service providers, platforms, analytics, etc. The overall market is in expansion, but the rate at which each product is growing varies drastically. For example, if we take a look at devices, which is the fundamental layer of the Internet of Things technology stack, we can see that they're mostly in a mature product category. On the other hand, connectivity occupies a still growing market that's strongly influenced by international standardization. Next, business application, we can see is in the final and top layer, capturing a huge part of the market size, but at the same time is less technologically advanced. This is mainly due to the relatively early life and demand and customization. Next, stakeholders. Internet of Things can be seen as a shared multi-stakeholder platform. These stakeholders, in addition to being interconnected, are interdependent in creating and managing the data stocked in the cloud and Internet of Things device. So firstly, Internet of Things service providers. They provide the network and connectivity to the ecosystem. Next, we have the device manufacturers, who are the ones that are building the actual objects that will contain the hardware. Next, we have the developers who create the software that allow for hardware and the physical object to connect with the software. And fourthly, we have the ISP that grants access, usage, and participation to the Internet of Things. Then we can find stakeholders that are mostly consumers of these devices, as well as main source data generation. Firstly, companies. Secondly, general customers. Thirdly, governments and policymakers acting to ensure the technology and data privacy. And finally, public organizations. On a final note, we would like to talk about the sales channels and providers of Internet of Things devices. The high investments made by technology companies indicate that they are the main suppliers. Next, commercial applications of the technology often take form in the value chain. Next, government-backed projects also exist, such as Alibaba and the Hangzhou city. And finally, we have software vendors like SAP and Microsoft.
Thank you very much for your attention.